Welcome back to Storytime with Quefish. Reading Roomba of Doom, Chapter 5. Ducks. They're what water slides off. Summary: Bob has an attitude. Also, if you spot a line in here similar to Sin's music and manuscripts, that is because Sin fed me the line a few weeks ago when I wrote this. We just differ on the avian involved. I will admit, I'm not going to recognize that line because I am subscribed to that story, but I am not reading it as it comes out. So, the doorbell rang. Aziraphale set his book aside and went to answer it. Bob buzzed along behind him with interest, curious to see who was at the door. It turned out to be a chap from British Gas there to read the meter. Just struck me as odd. Aziraphale led him to the airing cupboard to take a reading, while Bob circled the angel possessively, LEDs flashing red at the interloper in warning. The gas technician, whose name proclaimed him to be Nasir, glanced down at the curiously behaved vacuum cleaner. Aziraphale caught his expression. "Oh, you'll have to excuse him. Bob gets nervous around strangers." Nasir looked up at the peculiar blonde chap with an eyebrow raised questioningly. "Oh, is that so?" He took the reading, made his excuses, and left as quickly as was politely possible. You met some weird people in this job. The Roomba had followed him to the door, emitting strangely angry little beeps and nudging at the heels of his shoes while the homeowner told it off in hissed undertones. Aziraphale recounted the events over dinner with Crowley later. "It's really most endearing, darling, how he circles me just like you do. He's so protective." Crowley grunted. "He's only circling you because you're a walking crumb factory, Angel. He's waiting for you to drop food for him. It's cupboard love." "Oh no, darling, you should have seen him. I swear if he could have bitten the meter reader on the leg, he would have. Rather fortunate for the poor chap that Bob didn't have his chainsaw on, really." That would have been hilarious. He sipped at his wine and ate a bit more penne arrabbiata. "Oh, this really is delicious, Crowley. Well done, dearest." Over a tiramisu for dessert, Aziraphale brought up the subject of the Roomba again. "I really do think the poor dear is getting frustrated, darling. Perhaps you should take him for a walk tomorrow. Take him to the park and let him see the sights. It'll do him good to socialize for a bit. He did so enjoy his walk down to the bookshop the other week." They're gonna make like a dog park for Roombas. Roomba park. "He escaped into another dimension and summoned the Metatron in a single afternoon, Angel. Bob is a hazard on wheels. He's a fucking menace." "He takes after his father, then," the angel sniped with a teasing smirk. Crowley glared at him. "Besides, you do encourage him. You're the one who gave him a chainsaw and a flamethrower, darling." Crowley continued to glare. Glarefully. "Fine," the demon groused. "I'll take him for a walk. On your head be it if he ends up opening a portal to hell or something while we're there." Crowley slept in the next day. He woke about 2 p.m. and stretched, wondering what had woken him. There was a steady, repeated thump, thump at the bedroom door, and a faint, angry beeping. The demon growled. Okay, I can hear you, Bob. I'm sorry. Yes, I know we promised we'd go out. I overslept. Hang on." He tumbled out of bed and staggered to the door groggily and opened it. Bob looked at him, lights flashing red in irritation. He beeped and ran over Crowley's toe. "Ow! Oi, less of that, you little shit. Patience, dude." Let me get showered and dressed. But let me get some damn coffee first. It's too early in the afternoon for this. Bob beeped again and trundled off to sit by the front door impatiently. Crowley rolled his eyes. Bob did a little pattern of beeps and revs as if muttering under his breath. Oi! Don't you go insulting me like that. I'm the one who took you out of that hellscape of carpet and cat hair. The vacuum beeped indignantly back at him. I will hide your charging port, you spoiled vacuum. I will hide your charging port, you spoiled vacuum. Every now and then, as he waited for the coffee to brew, while he drank it, and while he showered, he'd hear the occasional thud as Bob headbutted the front door in frustration. Chill out, dude! Crowley yelled at him from the shower. I'm coming, okay? Blimey, you're irritating sometimes. Eventually, Crowley was ready, and Bob trundled along behind him as they left the flat, proceeded down in the lift and out of the lobby onto the street. People gave the demon peculiar looks as he sauntered along with a vacuum cleaner walking to heel. He grinned at them. At least it meant people gave him a wider berth than usual, in the spirit of stay away from the crazy dude taking an electrical appliance for a walk. Crowley had to stop a couple of times to lift Bob over curbs before they got to the park, where he paused. A sign stated, "Dogs must be kept on a leash." Crowley looked down at Bob. Bob looked up at Crowley. Well, you're not a dog, dude, so I guess the leash thing doesn't apply to you. Just try not to get into any trouble, okay? Bob beeped, and they carried on. Crowley took a seat on the bench by the duck pond and scrolled through his phone while Bob circled around a dog on a leash, which was trying to find out which end was Bob's tail so he could sniff it. Bob returned the favor by circling around to the dog's tail and tickling its paws with its spinning whiskers. The dog's owner stared at the rogue vacuum cleaner and Crowley in utter confusion. Crowley stared back. What? He demanded. The woman tugged her dog away and avoided eye contact. Crowley chuckled. Presently, his phone buzzed. It was Aziraphale. On my way home. Should I pick up anything for dinner? There's some eggs there. Crowley considered for a moment and texted back. At park with Bob. You could meet us here and then we could grab something together on the way back. Okay, dearest. Be there in a bit. Love you. An elderly gentleman sat down on the bench next to Crowley and opened a small paper bag of breadcrumbs to throw to the ducks. A fat mallard waddled over hurriedly to take advantage before the others spotted the bonanza. Oh no. Unfortunately, Bob also spotted the crumbs. He changed direction from where he'd been investigating some fallen leaves and trundled determinedly over to his favorite snack. The duck quacked at him in annoyance and pecked at his plastic cover. Bob's LEDs went red. Oh, thank goodness he doesn't have a chainsaw. Aziraphale arrived at the bench to find Crowley cackling in the middle of a crowd of onlookers, feathers flying everywhere, and angry beeps coming from the middle of the crowd. The angel shouldered his way to where the demon was sitting and took in the spectacle. Why is Bob fighting with a duck, Crowley? Crowley shrugged. Sometimes the duck gives you no option, Aziraphale. What are they fighting over? Breadcrumbs. Aziraphale rolled his eyes. Figures. The duck erupted from the crowd in a flurry of feathers and disgruntled quacks and scooted at high speed across the pond. Bob spun around triumphantly and vacuumed up the fallen feathers. Crowley picked one up and tucked it between two panels on the Roomba's casing so it stood up like a little flag. There you go, trophy. Winner of the great battle of the duck pond. The demon grinned proudly at his hellish little minion. Aziraphale rolled his eyes again. It was getting to be a habit. As they strolled arm in arm out of the park, Bob delighted in charging at flocks of pigeons on the ground. sending them scattering into the air. Crowley smiled indulgently. We should do this more often. Aziraphale smiled. He can be very fierce, can't he? Quite the little temper on him. You want temper. You should have heard him when we got home after the airbase. While you were in the bathroom, I went to find Bob. He wasn't on his charging port. I found him hiding under the desk. He gave me hell over the leaguer puddle. He hadn't been able to get out of the study all day because of the holy water on the floor. I had to lift him over it. You've never heard such language. Well, that explains why you left the TV turned on all night playing The Brave Little Toaster, I suppose. I did wonder. God, that brave little toaster, man, when I was a kid and I was watching, crying. Anyway, it was adorable. And not too much alliteration, which was nice. So, thank you for joining me.